Don't say maybe, it's gonna be a lonely night. Hearts were spoken, hearts were broken. It's gonna be a lonely night. It's gonna be a lonely night.
What kind of mic do you use?
Well, usually, like last time was my iPad. Now I'm using an MXL USB mic.
MXL USB. Let me look that up.
Yeah. Is the audio should sound decent?
It sounds really good, actually.
Yeah.
MXL USB.
It's the MSL USB 006, but this is a very old model. They probably have better ones now. What are you using now for mic? You had a new mic.
Well, the one I'm recording on right now is just the $10 Pile mic that I. It's just Pile, which is a cheap company, but they make good quality stuff. And then I have like a USB connect. Well, actually, this is going into a personal Sony digital recorder. And then I take that and then I put it into the computer and I take your audio, which is being recorded independently, and I mix them down. And that's why I need you to sync up so I could mix it down seamlessly. And it turns out, the Pile is a good mic as long as you don't jostle it. I mean, like it seems like the higher quality mics, and you're the best person to talk about this too. But the best quality mics are the ones that don't give you any noise if you move them around. This is what I've been told, and what you're paying for a lot of times when you're getting the more expensive mics is you're getting a lot of good shock cushioning, and
a windscreen is really the way to go, but you don't really have a problem with plosives and pops.
Well, I try to when you're talking of course, you don't talk directly into the mic, and then you will get the pop, unless you have a pop filter. I don't have the pop filter on this thing right now.
Yeah.
But it has like an internal windscreen and then an external windscreen that I put over it. And the pop filter would absorb all the pops too, but I'm not using it right now. So I'm just sort of talking at an angle from the mic so that it picks up my voice. I looked up the MXL USB 006. This is a very nice mic. It's on Amazon.
An old mic.
It's on Amazon for $106.98. MXL, I know that brand because I think Mark picked up one of those a while back, like 2 or 3 years ago, and I got
this one from Mark. I think he sold it to me. Yeah, but they're let me see, MXL 006 Amazon. So this isn't part of the podcast though, right?
It is part of the podcast. All of this is conversation. A lot of people would be interested in this. This is the kind of gear you should use when you're doing a podcast, kids. Remember that.
Oh, okay, yeah. MXL USB 006 mic. And this one is probably, they probably put this thing out 10 years ago.
Well, or maybe it's still available and it gets high marks.
I can't believe they still sell it.
It's probably because it's like, is this close to professional standard? I mean, I know professional mics will run even more than that, but you sound pretty damn good. I mean, it almost sounds like like a Sennheiser or an Electro Voice. I think Electro Voice is one of the more expensive ones, right?
Yeah, is it the RE6 or something? And then the Shure SM7B is a good dynamic mic. This is a. I wouldn't call this. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it says for broadcasting. It could be used, but it's. I would say that the real professional stuff, they are not USB mics with built-in mic pre's and A to D conversion, because that's all built into the mic. A real good quality mic would interface with a separate mic pre, outboard mic pre in a console or standalone, and then it would go into the using a separate interface with A to D conversion.
Well, what's great, the USB kills hiss pretty much. It kills a lot of hiss and hum, and it sounds really, it's very clean.
Yeah, the only thing is I have 3 input levels on the mic right now, and I'm not sure if I'm overloading at all because I might be on the high setting. Do you hear any distortion?
No, not at all. You're perfect
Okay.
and flawless and clean. And
But
everything.
I'm not at all sensitive to things like distortion or anything.
There's a little joke for those of us
it's a
in the
little
know.
inside joke.
Alex is he is a masterer and a recording engineer, and just an all around expert in audio. And he's professional. I mean, for all your, mastering and even recording. And hell, if I wanted to record something, I would call him, and because his ears are like, he's got this insane sensitivity in his ears.
Well, yeah, and I'm not alone. I think anyone who goes into the recording industry as an engineer, they're really, as far as music, the music industry, there are really 3 different components, which is the recording or tracking engineer, and then the mixing engineer. And they could all be the same people, but often different people handle the different tasks. And then the 3rd phase is the mastering engineer.
You sweeten the whole thing, right?
Sometimes I have to dig pretty deeply and really draw stuff out and correct tonal imbalances and really just for music at least, make a track come forward in the best way possible sonically. A lot of equalization sometimes and manipulation of dynamics and level. You're kind of doing all different things at the same time, chiseling at it a little bit. The mixing phase before the mastering phase is when they take all the tracks that have been recorded, as you know, because you do sound work as well.
Yeah.
And then you make all those tracks balanced and sound good as a unified stereo mix if you're doing a two-track mix.
Or as good as you can get it anyway.
Yeah, you also have a sound background. I mean, you're modest about it, but you do all your editing for your podcast. I've heard music things that you've put together that sound really good.
Yeah, I screw around with music, just weird pieces. Remember, we did a song together. Remember? It was I forgot what I was. God, if I could just remember, because unfortunately YouTube took it off. I think YouTube took it off because it was on an episode that they decided had to be taken down because it had some material on it from something else. But if I could find that track, I know where it is. But I basically just wrote this weird spoken word thing for you, and then I added some kind of a backbeat for it. And I remember when you were recording it, maybe I'll play it for this. When I find it, I'll play it for this.
Yeah.
And while you were trying to record it, they were doing construction work in your apartment building, like outside, right outside your door.
They're doing construction here. Coincidentally, I hear hammering. Hear it?
No, I can't hear it. Like I said, you got really good isolation on that mic. I'm thinking, I'd love to get one of these mics too. Actually, I've heard so much about them, but they used to be a lot more expensive than they are now. They're very cheap.
I think there's probably an MXL or another company that's making a USB mic that's probably on this level, if not better, for cheaper. Now, I can't say that for sure because sometimes older equipment, you think, oh, it's older, it's not as good, but sometimes the capsules and just the size of the mic, and it just integrates in a way where it sounds good. So I can't say that for sure, but I've seen USB mics in the $50 range. Some of them are smaller, and I've heard them on YouTube, and some of them sound pretty good.
Well, one of their newer ones here that's getting good reviews is what is this? This is the MXL Studio One USB condenser. It's the same design as yours, and it's going for $85, and it's got like 4.5 stars on it.
MXL Studio One.
Yeah, MXL Studio One, and then there's also this other one that's 172, and it's got all the features that you mentioned before. Like it's got a
Well, I'll tell you one mic that would beat this, and it's funny. It's a funny looking mic. You've probably heard of it, but it's the Blue Yeti.
I go back and forth on that because I've heard good things about it, but I've also heard bad things. And I've heard people record through them. Sometimes it sounds really fantastic, and other times it doesn't sound good at all. So I was looking at a podcast a while back. Someone was actually, because it's a video podcast, so we saw that they were using the Blue Yeti, but it almost sounded like a telephone conversation. It kind of sounded, kind of like this. Maybe it was the settings. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was just the settings.
Yeah, it's the settings, but also a microphone is only as good as the environment. If you're in, of course, some mics have focused patterns where they don't have a lot of off-axis sounds coming in. Mm-hmm. So the polar pattern is tighter and focused, and those work better generally for broadcast. But
I'm recording in my kitchen.
Yeah, but even in those cases, the environment, if someone's in a really bad sounding room, like, with strange modes and reflections, like not a bathroom, but just a really shitty sounding room that doesn't have any dampening, it's still going to sound kind of crummy. And a lot of it also has to do with proximity. A lot of people don't know how close to get to a mic. So if they're too far away, and the room sounds bad, it might not sound as good. And then, as you just said, the settings are a factor too. So, but the Blue Yeti, I think if it's set up well, I mean, I know people who work in film and TV editing, and they say in their voiceover studios where they actually get actors to come in, these are facilities that could use much more expensive gear, but some of them use the Blue Yeti. So, again, you have to know how to set it up.
Some areas, some areas are more soundproof than others. Like the basement of this apartment building is very soundproofed. No noise gets in. It's, I guess, maybe part of the insulation that they put when they put together the building, but it's almost completely soundproof. I think you could actually put a studio down there. It's so, and the floor is concrete, so the floor, I don't know that's absorbing the sounds, but what could also be absorbing the sounds is there's so many boxes in there, and when you're filling up that area with space, it tends to eat all the sound around it and just sort of insulate it. So there's no noise. There's absolutely no noise. I've recorded a few things down there, usually in between laundry cycles or something, and I'll take a recorder down there and recorded some of my the Dave Lawler podcast that I did last year or the year before. I'm not really sure. Okay. But here you're going to pick up if you're listening through the internal mic, my internal mic on the computer, you might be hearing the air conditioner in the other room that's running. And
there's a little, I hear a little ambient noise. It's not too bad.
And also the refrigerator. When the refrigerator kicks on, you're going to hear it.
Are you going into your mixer, or are you going? Does this mic?
It's just going straight into the recorder.
So this pile mic
that I'm using.
Yeah, it goes into your recorder.
Yeah, I got this adapter because it's a 1/4 adapter. So I got this adapter from 1/4 to 1/8, gold plated, probably the highest rated adapter, and I plugged that directly into the recorder.
And what's the recorder you have?
It's a Sony. What is that? They've got like these whole kits now. I mean, if you go, there's like a whole bunch of like, you got the Samsung G-Track Pro Professional kit, and it's got headphones, it's got the microphone, and it's got everything.
Yeah, a friend of mine is starting a podcast, and he was asking me about equipment, and I told him. He actually said, "Oh, should I get the Yeti?" And I said, "Yeah, get a Yeti." And there's one Yeti kit for $200, which has a beautiful broadcast boom arm.
I'm up to my elbows in mic stands. I've got like a whole bunch because, like, we used them a lot. They were part of my regular shooting kit when I was like, shooting a lot, and I was doing a lot of movies. But these were back from like the beginning of the 2000s, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And when I started like seriously doing movies, and I wasn't just goofing off with my friends, wrote a script, planned it, scheduling, and all that stuff. And you get a kit, and then you get your camera kit, which is your lights and all that stuff. And I still got that stuff, and it still works too, by the way. It's just kind of flimsy, you know, because I was cheap. I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So, you know, and there's a passion more than anything. I thought it was really funny. I was just thinking about this because you were talking about the mastering and everything. And I remember when I was shooting my American punk documentary, some of the bands that I spoke to, this one particular band that helped me out with a lot of things, Triple Bypass, it was a pop punk band in Astoria. And their first recordings were just basically from a boombox. They got all their band stuff, they got their instruments together. It sounded like shit, of course, but all they did was press record play. It's just a regular cassette, and they just recorded, and it's a mess, of course, but it's
the charm as well.
There's a certain kind of there's a charm to that. There's a it's but there's so much more now you can do with a computer.
Austin, no matter where you are. No, dear, now you've gone too far. No, dear, now I'm feeling dead. My heart in my head, I'm feeling dead. Ships are in, where to begin? Pull the lampshade, the ships are in, where to begin?